Kevin Gray with the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Jeff Carroll holding it down for you here. We are live on Twitch at twitch.tv/DallasFanCam and on YouTube as well. Search 105 through the Fan on YouTube and hit the subscribe button while you are there. We're with you until 6:30 p.m. tonight as we lead you into the official Rangers pregame show with my guy, your guy, our favorite guy, Texas Rangers insider and play-by-play man, Jared Sandler, coming up here in a matter of moments via the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline. Mike Bascik of the KNC Masterpiece going to be joining us to give us his thoughts going into Game 6 tonight. Meanwhile, coming up next segment, Derek Holland going to be joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. So looking forward to hearing from both of those gentlemen as we get you ready for game number 6 between the Astros and the Rangers tonight.
It's going to be exciting. In fact, like I said, this is playing out perfectly if you're a Ranger fan. Whether the Rangers were behind or this series, the Rangers having a lead, you want Evo on the mound, you like the opposing pitcher, and you like the fact that you are hitting first.
Joining us right now via the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline. You can hear him every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. when he isn't watching his Mavericks play. He's talking Rangers baseball on the baseball show of record on 105.3 The Fan. He is, of course, former Texas Ranger Mike Bascik. Mike, what's going on?
Mike, nobody does this better. When you talk baseball, I cannot get out of the car. I'm giving you your props, man.
Man, thank you so much. Well, today's a big day. Obviously, I don't know if I'm over Game 5, but I know the players are over Game 5. You know, like as a Ranger fan, I still think about Game 5 and all the small things that kind of didn't go your way to lead to that Altuve home run. But on to today, tonight, man, do or die. So I'm glad we're in this position. I'm just thankful that the Rangers are playing today in the Final Four of baseball, and you never know what can happen.
Before we get into tonight, Mike, I know you were at the game Friday night. What were your thoughts when Dusty Baker refused to get ejected, extended that delay? I mean, you're a pitcher. You know Leclerc. I mean, I just want to know what your thoughts were in the moment while you're in the ballpark with everybody else screaming and hollering and going nuts.
You know, it's funny is when Dusty's out on the field screaming and yelling and getting thrown out, I was with my father, who, if people don't know him, he's a former Texas Ranger and Minnesota Twin. He goes, I don't like this for our closer. And that was well before, Presley came in, well before Dusty Baker did another stall tactic by refusing to leave the dugout. So well before that, already my father looked at me and goes, this is not good for our closer, because he knew that whoever they bring in is going to get all the time they need in the world to warm up. Plus, there's nobody out. So it's going to be 30 minutes of Leclerc sitting there before he can come into the game. So that wasn't good. But emotionally, when Abreu hit Garcia, I wanted Abreu thrown out of the game, right? You're just emotional as a fan. And you're like, I believe it was intentional. It doesn't – it's all opinion, right? I mean, Abreu's never going to come out and say, I intentionally did it. But that was my opinion. But if you think about it, I don't know what's going to happen, but you're probably going to score off Abreu. Your first two guys have gotten on base, obviously one that he wanted to put on base. But now you have 5, 6, 7 coming up. He wanted to face Garver, way more of a double play threat. He got thrown out of the game. But we can hit Abreu. I'm not saying he's not easy to hit. But when they brought in Presley, when I looked at my father too, I was like, hey, I would bring in Presley here and try to keep it 4-2. You have a day off tomorrow. You only have a chance if you keep it here at 4-2. And Dusty brought in Presley, and he shut down that inning. If Abreu's still in the game, the Rangers have a better chance of scoring. So, unfortunately, not blaming Adolis Garcia, but if he can somewhat keep his emotions, he can get mad but keep his emotions and go to first. Abreu stays in the game, and I just wonder if that inning, first and second in the 8th inning with nobody out, turns out differently.
And by the way, Tolo in the 254 says, you know what? They need a pitch clock on Dusty Baker. For the, when he was wasting all that time.
You got 15 seconds to get your ass out of here.
Yeah,
you've been thrown out. Get out of here.
is even if they fine Dusty Baker $100,000, you could fine him $1 million.
Oh, it's
and
worth it.
The Houston Astros, like,
Oh, yeah, it's worth
Game
it.
6 is worth $1 million fine. Like, I know they're not fining him that much, but they probably
still,
fined him
he is
$25,000 or
a veteran.
$50,000.
He is an old school manager. He knows every trick in the book, like all the greats, and he knew exactly what he was doing, and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree with you 100%, Chris. I'm wondering how much he knew what he was doing when he first got thrown out versus when he's like, I'm refusing to leave the dugout. This took the umpires so long to make a decision. Presley has taken so long to warm up.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Presley an extra 3 minutes.
Yeah,
here, and
that's what I'm
gonna
talking
not
about.
leave the dugout. So I think at that moment, he's sitting there on the front step going, I ain't leaving. And he's telling Gary Pettis what he wants and all that stuff. But he's also like, now I know I'm going to make Leclerc sit there and get a little bit colder. And relief pitchers just aren't super used to sitting in a dugout for a long time.
Right. And that's what did Leclerc in, because he's used to going in 1 through 3, getting out and gone, not, killing time.
100%. Now, I hope this changes, but I have found out, and other people have found out, and the Rangers know this, Leclerc was tipping his changeup. So Altuve, it wasn't anything illegal. Look, I'm not a big fan of the Houston Astros. It wasn't anything illegal, but Leclerc was doing something to tip the pitch, and it has been confirmed that he tipped that pitch. And so hopefully if Leclerc gets in tonight, that if he has a save opportunity and he needs to throw a changeup, he can adjust what he needs to adjust so the Astros don't know what he's throwing.
Isn't that amazing that the Astros said this about Leclerc, but the Astros also said it about you, Darvish, back in the day?
Yeah. Well, today with so many cameras and how great they are, we would be in the dugout and we would be looking for tells. We would be looking for where their hands set up. Is their fingers moving in their glove? Does their elbow flare out? Do they stand a little bit different on the mound? When they lift their leg, are they really loading hard or not? Like, all of these things we're trying to do. Now they pay people, and not just the Astros.
Everybody.
They're paying people to look at video over and over and see, is there any tell this guy is giving when he throws a certain pitch? And they found it on Leclerc, and they took advantage of it. That being said, walking John Singleton was the big sin of that inning. He's not a good hitter. So even if Altuve hits the home run, one of the clutchest players in my lifetime, but that only ties the game. It doesn't take the lead. So Altuve's great. Unfortunately, their guy came through. Our guys, Semien and Seager, in the 9th inning couldn't come through.
Yeah, the sin was walking Singleton.
Yeah.
That was just the sin. That was just, and you could tell he was wild at that point. It was just like, man.
Mike Bascik of the KNC Masterpiece joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. You started to allude to it a little bit, Mike. The numbers here are 333 and 292. Those are the batting averages of Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, respectively, against Framber Valdez in their careers against him. What do these two specifically at the top of the lineup have to do tonight to get things going for this Rangers lineup against Valdez, who struggled in Game 2 against the Rangers?
Gosh, it's such a great question, right? And there's been people that have struggled. The greatest players in baseball history at times have just struggled in the playoffs for a series or two, and then, you yell and scream at them and say, where were you in the playoffs? But hitting is so difficult. I will say this is against both of their natures. They have to be more patient. They are, right now, I feel like Semien and Seager are expanding their zones. And they're swinging at pitches that either they struggle to hit hard or that they can't hit hard. Not all of the time, but enough that it's putting them in pitchers' counts or in pitcher situations where they have multiple ways to get you out.
Yep.
And as a hitter, what you're trying to do is you're trying to eliminate at least one pitch. Because if I can get you down to 2 pitches, and if I can get you down to 1 pitch, if I know I'm sitting on this pitch, most likely you're going to throw it one of these next 2 pitches. And if you throw it in the spot that I'm looking, I'm going to hit it hard, and they will. They're great hitters. Right now, I feel like they've just gotten a little bit hyper at the plate. It's understandable. It's huge emotional situations. They're great players. They could both go 4 for 4 today, and the Rangers could score a dozen runs. But if they're patient at the plate, and I love what you said, Chris, man, if they're patient at the plate and they can get on base early, and it's Grossman batting third today and Adolis. If they can have big at-bats and you can score a couple runs in the first, it's easier said than done. But, boy, would that make the Rangers feel better and put some pressure on the Astros.
Most definitely. And on the other side of this thing, because you're a pitcher, and I know, I mean, you really, really explain the stuff so well. For Evo, can you talk about what the batters fear most out of him? Because he's got an array of pitches.
Yeah, I think that they fear that he can get them out with a whole bunch of different pitches. So you can't really – he has a quality fastball that he controls up, down, away, and in. So that will be a major key for him. When you're watching about the first 10 pitches and his fastball command, this is where when you watched the other day, Max Scherzer, he couldn't throw the ball where he wanted consistently. So if Jonah Heim sets up away, if he misses – it needs to be on the outer half of the plate, on the outside part, because when you start missing middle or in, those are big adjustments. When you're having to adjust a little bit up, you're okay. But when you're having to adjust a whole plate, which is 17 inches, those are big misses by major leaguers, and guys take advantage of it. How many times do you see on a home run, the catcher puts his glove on a corner and he has to – that glove leaks towards the middle. It might not even be directly down the middle, or he's reaching across. And that's when those big hits happen. Rarely will you see – it will happen occasionally, but rarely will you see guys hit doubles, home runs when they actually hit the perfect spot where the catcher wanted the ball. It'll happen sometimes. But for Evo, command that fastball, because off the fastball, he has a great split finger. He was having really good breaking balls the other day, whether it was kind of that short slider, quick slider, or mixing in the curveball. So he is a four-pitch guy. And I think that can frustrate hitters because they can't really zone in on one pitch, where looking at the other side, when you look at the lefty, Framber Valdez, who, look, I've loved for the last few years. I just think he's tremendous. But John Smoltz has pointed out something that I then noticed off of him, which was great, is he said, look, he was such a good two-seam fastball guy, and it seems like this year – he's gone away from that, trusting more of his off-speed, which his off-speed works off of his fastball, but he's not throwing it enough to really get the results that he wants. So I don't know if Framber's going to make the adjustment and go more fastball heavy tonight, but that's something to look for.
You all were talking about, of course, Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi, 3-0 with a 2.29 ERA, 5 earned runs in 19 2/3 innings in 3 postseason starts. Big game Nate looking to continue that moniker tonight when they take on the Houston Astros. Mike, as you watch this game play out tonight, what are you looking for as far as an X factor from the Rangers that we haven't seen necessarily in the first 5 games that's got to show up tonight for them to extend this series?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'd love to say an X factor is somebody in that pen besides Spores, Chapman, and Leclerc. But let's face it. I'm just being honest here. If anybody pitches besides Eovaldi and the 3 guys I named, the Rangers are going to lose. They just don't have the depth in their pen to go to anybody else. They have 4 pitchers who can pitch in this game, and really only 4. If anybody else pitches in this game, the X factor will be they had to pitch in the game, which would be an X factor for the Astros. The Astros' X factor is get somebody else in the game besides the 3 relievers that they trust and rely on. For the Rangers, X factor, this is going to sound weird because, Kevin, it goes back to your first point. The X factors in this weird way have to be Semien and Seager because sometimes you look at the bottom of the lineup, man, Leote's having a series. Guys at the bottom of the lineup the other day, first and second, nobody out. Who got on? It was Garver and Heim batting 8th and 9th. They got on for your big dogs. Altuve hits a 3-run homer. Our guys, they weren't horrible at bats. One was a line drive. The other was 400 feet to center field. But, you know, if you can get the little guys on, and not saying, you know, little in size, but if you get the role players on, the big guys have to come through. And in this series, you could say as of now, they're up 3-2 the Astros because their money players, Altuve and Yordan Alvarez, have come through in big situations, and our guys haven't enough.
Yes, sir. Got a quick question for you. WWEC, what will Evan Carter do, or maybe what will Bochy do with Evan Carter?
I think it's pretty simple. Evan Carter said game 2, he almost was ready to go in the first inning because they brought 9 to the plate. If they would have taken out Framber Valdez in the first inning because Robbie Grossman was coming up for a second time, Evan Carter was in the game. They don't have any lefty relievers. As soon as Framber Valdez leaves the game, Evan Carter comes in for Robbie Grossman.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, once again, it's in the first 4 innings, because that means that Framber didn't last very long. But I guess another thing, if you score 3 or 4 off of Framber Valdez, they scored 5 the other day. They scored 0 the rest of the way. It shows the depth of the Astros bullpen. You get guys confident. You get guys hot at the plate. You get him out in the 3rd inning, and then the Rangers don't score another run the rest of the game. You're asking for trouble with the Rangers bullpen if you get off to an early lead, and then you sit on it and you say, Evo and the 3 guys that we think can do this, put zeros up or only 1 or 2 runs the rest of the game. The Rangers are going to have to keep adding runs even if they get to Framber early.
Yes, sir.
Mike, before I get you out of here, give me your final thought on this game tonight and what you're looking for as you watch this team try to extend what has been a magical season for them as they do it tonight against the Astros.
Okay, so I'm looking for, obviously, Evo has to outpitch Framber Valdez. Easier said than done, but that has to happen. I'm looking for the Rangers to push this to a Game 7, and for Governor Abbott has to call a holiday for the state of Texas tomorrow where nobody goes to work because you have a Game 7, Houston versus Dallas-Fort Worth,
right.
The Texas Rangers. So I'm looking at a 6-4 victory for the Rangers. I think the offense for the Rangers does enough. We feel confident about it. They push it to Game 7 because Eovaldi outpitches Framber, and the Rangers are able to hold on to push it to a 7th game.
Love it.
Mike, as always, I appreciate your time
stuff,
and perspective, sir. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Sunday for a few minutes, and look forward to seeing what your reaction will be tomorrow, win or lose, when the Rangers take on the Astros. Mike, I appreciate the time, man.
Thanks. I'll just promote real quick. You can catch, obviously, Jared Sandler on for an hour plus after this game is over on 105.3 The Fan. I will be on Bally's tonight. The game's not on Bally's. It's on Fox Sports 1. But after Fox goes off the air, we're able to go on the air, and we carry through Emily Jones being in the clubhouse. We're able to carry about an hour post-game show on Bally's with me and Leslie McCaslin.
That'll work.
Well, thank you so much for the time, Mike, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
All right. See you, fellas.
See ya.
There he goes, Mike Bascik of the Kansas City Masterpiece and
Knowledge
Valley
bombs
Sports
all in that segment.
Southwest tonight. Looking forward to seeing that. And look, a lot of tremendous thoughts there going into a crucial Game 6. You got to have it.
Got to have it.
Win or go home when it comes to your Texas Rangers. It's our American League Championship Series pregame super show right here on your home of the Rangers 105 through the Fan. We're also live on Twitch at twitch.tv/DallasFanCam and on YouTube as well. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube for 105 through the Fan. Coming up next, Derek Holland joins us to give us his thoughts on Rangers-Astros Game 6 tonight. We'll do it next on 105 through the Fan.
The Fan continues to grow because of you, our listeners.
877-881-1053, 877-881-1053 if you want to get in on the conversation. We are live on Twitch at twitch.tv/DallasFanCam and on YouTube as well. Search 105 through the fan on YouTube and hit the subscribe button while you are there. We're with you until 6:30 tonight as we lead you to the official Rangers pregame show.
And speaking of Tolos and Ranger fans texting in, shout out to to Harriet and Marcus, the owners of Gorilla Nuts Restaurant. These Tolos just brought us a bunch of wings up here, and they are delicious. Thank y'all so much. And your little daughter, Morgan, is cute, too.
Yes, fantastic food, and we appreciate them. They was listening to the Get Right the other night, and we were talking about wings and wing flavors, and they were gracious enough to bring us some food to the station, so I really appreciate them.
Even Reg came by.
Yeah, Reg don't do no work on a Sunday. And he came up here and got these wings, that's for sure. Let's go, though, to the Boomer Jacks. Speaking of food, the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline, RJ Choppy, and we welcome in my man who has been on these airwaves cooking when he's not doing his own, brisket in his own house. My man, Big Blue, shout out to Big Blue, Derek Holland, joining us right here on 105 through the fan. Derek, what's going on?
That's not his name. His name today is 49-0.
Look, before we get to the Rangers real quick, I know you was just happy as a kid yesterday watching Michigan whoop that ass in East Lansing against the Michigan State Spartans yesterday.
Man, anytime you can go and beat down the little brother, it's amazing. So that was huge victory. And then, I got to give the Browns love, too. They just won.
Yes,
a little
they
iffy,
did.
though. I don't know if they truly won, but the calls were a little questionable. But
They won the game, though.
What's that?
They won.
Yeah, they did. They won. That's for sure. But now it's time to focus on the Rangers. That's the bigger task at hand now, the game that everybody's looking forward to tonight, too.
How does a player approach a potential elimination game, Derek?
Well, you just got to go into it as a do or die. Have your expectations high. Believe in yourselves. Be confident with your teammates. This is it. You have the meeting probably with the guys talking about this could be it. It's either we win or we go home, and I don't think anybody in that clubhouse wants to go home. So I expect to see some great things tonight from our boys.
Is there a routine that gets changed, or do you try to keep everything the same from a pregame standpoint, from a preparation standpoint? Do you keep all that the same as much as you can, even with the stakes that are in an elimination game, obviously?
Yeah, you just stick to what you've been doing. You got there for a reason. You got to remember that. Just because, you might have lost, 2 games. The main thing is you can't sit here and get caught up in, or 3 games. You can't get caught up in all that stuff. You got to focus on what you've been doing. That's how you guys got there. Keep that same mojo, that same mentality, and just focus on getting ahead. Start this game off, be aggressive, get on the bases, be aggressive on the base pass, get to Framwell a lot quicker so that way we can get him out of the game and then start using their bullpen.
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking. I like the way you're thinking yesterday. You're always saying you can't change what happened the night before. You got to forget about it and keep it moving. You think about it to a degree, but these guys, can you talk about how they have been through so much adversity over the last 2 months where a lot of people thought this team is not real or they're going to fold or they blew it, and they still kept on coming up big again. Can you talk about how different it is when you've been through adversity as opposed to everything going right and you just smacked in the mouth one day out of the blue?
Well, let's not forget at the beginning of the year, nobody picked them to be where they are.
Yeah,
nobody
exactly.
thought that they would be doing what they're doing. So they've had the mindset from the very beginning that they belong. That's what they continue to keep doing every time. They show that every time they're out there. They have the mentality of that I belong here. I need to be here. We're going to win this thing. They got that. Now, yes, they've been punched in the face quite a few times. They've been going on some losing streaks and everything. It's been an emotional roller coaster this year. And you look at what they've done out of those. Yes, you go through a losing streak. Then they immediately stop it, or they don't immediately stop it, but they would get through it and then start pushing for the new streak, and that's the winning streak. Every time that there's been a losing streak, there has become a winning streak right after it. So, and I'm talking like at least a 3-game winning streak after. So we can see some great things coming from this team. I think it's just a matter of, like I said, going into this game with the mindset that you're better than them, forgetting about obviously what happened 2 days ago, and focus on what you can do now, and that's just going out there, being aggressive, attack with your pitchers, attack up at the plate, have a good game plan, and take care of business.
Before we turn our attention to the Rangers' rotation and their pitching staff going into tonight's game, let's focus in on the lineup a little bit. Who's a guy for you that's got to step up in this lineup to really set the table for this Texas Rangers team going up against Framber Valdez?
Well, I think it's going to be right out the gate. I think you're going to see Semien, who's been a very aggressive leadoff hitter. I love it. I'm putting the call in again. I think we're going to see a first pitch homer, or at least a first at bat homer. But get those two guys with Semien and Seager taken off. I think Garcia, after obviously what had happened, I think there's going to be a lot of fire. There's also going to be a lot of fire from within that clubhouse, but I think there's more for Garcia because he wants this pretty bad after what had happened, and I feel like the rest of the guys are right behind him on that too.
Is the formula a lot of people saying, well, in fact, Semien talked about this at a press conference yesterday. He said Houston is doing what their assignment is. Basically, they know what our tendencies are, and they are taking advantage of that. We've got to make our adjustments. Is it when you see Semien and Seager, you pitch away from them? Is that what you would do as a pitcher?
Man, it's tough to say for me. As with Seager, yeah, if I was facing him as a lefty, I like to make people uncomfortable, so I want to pitch in. Now, granted, I don't have the best success. I mean, I have good success against right-handed hitters as well, but nothing, Hall of Fame status. But if it's me, I want to make guys uncomfortable. I think the big thing we've talked about too with you look at the big tall, gosh dang it, their DH. Alvarez.
Yeah, Alvarez. Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You look at him.
It's okay. You talk about Lil Poppy, Baby Poppy. That's what they call him.
Yeah, and we just gotta make him uncomfortable. It's just the same thing that they're doing with our guys. Is nobody is having a true comfortable bat,
right? Which
goes to setting the tone. You got to be able to pitch inside, get these guys uncomfortable, like we've talked about. Now we just need to go out there and execute on our side of the pitching side of it. Just take care of business, stay within ourselves, and go one pitch at a time.
Derek Holland joining us right here on 105 through the Fan as we get you ready for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series between the Rangers and the Astros tonight. When I look at this rotation and this pitching staff for this Texas Rangers team, and with Nathan Eovaldi, how good he's been in this postseason, what are you looking for from him in terms of how deep he needs to go in this game to be able to help guys like Aroldis Chapman and Jose Leclerc and Spores to be able to helpfully shorten this game for the Rangers tonight?
Well, let me at least say this. I know the bullpen, they're already forgetting about what happened. They're not going to sit and dwell on that. They know that there's new task at hand. We can't sit and worry about that. Otherwise, that's just going to create more problems for the bullpen. But with that being said, Nate just needs to go out there. Just be him. Be nasty Nate. You don't need to do anything too much. Just go out there. The goal, obviously, you want to get to – well, as a pitcher, I know his goal is he wants to pitch a complete game. There's no doubt about that. So if you can get us up to 6-7 innings, I think we can take care of business from there with our bullpen. Those guys will take care of business. We've seen it before. I feel like we're a much better team on the road this year is what it seems like, so I think we can go with that.
Okay, I'm not counting chickens before they're hatched. I'm just talking about a theoretical because I might not be able to talk to you tomorrow. No, I want to ask you about this because I probably won't get a chance to talk to you tomorrow. Let's say the Rangers win. Scherzer starts Game 7. What's your thoughts on how well he'll pitch?
I think he'll definitely be better than he was the first time. I think just getting those jitters out that he had, I think that's the big thing. He is a pro. He's been around the league for a while. I know he has the mindset and everything, but you also got to remember, too, he hasn't pitched in 2 months or however long it was, a month, whatever it was. So that first outing, I think that was more of we got to get everything out, but he was trying to do more than Max Scherzer. He was not – to me, I feel like maybe he was not just himself, and that's why – going forward, I think we'll be okay. Give him the ball again. He's a guy that's got the playoff experience. I know the guys would want that. But I think there could be a tight leash. You could see a Dane Dunning or a Heaney.
That's what I was thinking.
Out there and ready to go.
Dunning, and then let the rest of the bullpen get those last, 18? It's not the last 18. Excuse me, the last 9 outs, last 6 outs.
You could, technically, I would say there could be even a chance that you see him go 3 innings and then they give it to
Dunning,
somebody else, depending on how the inning or the game is going.
Right. I got you. Okay. Just wanted to find out from you before tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I'm in a positive
I don't like
mood.
to look ahead though. I don't want to ever jinx the boys, but yeah.
He said we gotta get through tonight. It's all about tonight. And along those lines, thinking about a potential game tomorrow, but more so focusing on tonight. Do you feel like Bruce Bochy, if he has to, is going to empty the tank when it comes to this particular, staff, given what's on the line tonight? Could you see that as a possibility if need to for tonight's game?
We're asking you because you played for him.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I understand. And in all honesty, it's like we talked about before. This is Game 6. This is all hands on deck. That's all we've got. Like, we start to get in any trouble, I feel like there could be some they're probably going to be a little bit of a panic, but I think everything is going to be fine there with that. But this is all hands on deck. We got 2 games left, and that's all we can do. We got to focus on trying to get game 1 so we can see game 2, but everybody's ready to go.
Is there something to be said for having old Skip like Bochy out there? You know, not that any of the guys have deer in the headlight looks, but, you know, guy like Evan Carter, they just look at Bochy and know he's got it all figured out.
Yeah, 100%. You get a guy like that has the experience and the track record. He knows what he's doing. You're not going to question his moves.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to make the calls because this is what he feels, and this is what he believes in, and people are going to trust that. His team or his players are going to trust that. His staff is going to trust that. So we're in good hands with a veteran manager like him. And then also you got to give credit to Baker too. He's a excellent manager as well on the other side.
He really is. That's why I'm glad that we got somebody old school just like him against him. By the way, the 940 says, you guys are a huge bowl of positivity. The top of the 9th in Game 5 hurt me. I'm feeling really good about tonight. Thanks, y'all.
That's how it should be. Confidence is key. We got, the game's over with. Let's focus on now. And I feel like with this day off and being back down in Houston and seeing how Houston plays at home versus the Rangers playing on the road, I just feel very confident with those guys.
Me too.
All right, so give me a last word. How does this play out tonight? How do the Rangers get a win, Derek?
Man, this is going to be a wild one.
Woo.
It's going to go back and forth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Rangers are going to pull away, and we're going to see an 8-5 victory.
Nice.
Ooh, 8-5.
Because the Stros can't win at home.
There we go. He knows.
I know.
Derek, as always, my man, I appreciate the time. Like I told you earlier, man, you've been cooking all week long talking about these Texas Rangers, and I appreciate you taking a few more minutes with us today to get us ready for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series, man. I appreciate you.
No problem. You guys keep doing it. Get those boys hyped up and get ready for this game. Let's go Rangers, baby.
That's right. Thanks, 49-0.
Yeah, baby. Go blue.
Got you down.
There he goes. Derek Holland going to join us here on 105.3 The Fan. He knows a little something about pitching in big games.
Yeah, he's pitching some World Series.
He knows a little something about that. Appreciate him and his perspective going into tonight's game. It's our Rangers American League Championship Series pregame super show right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's go around the LCSs, as not only do you have Game 6 of the American League Championship Series tonight, but the Philadelphia Phillies are looking to get back to the World Series when they take on the Diamondbacks tomorrow. How they got there last night. We'll go around the LCSs next on 105.3 The Fan.
Meet Bruce.
Hey there.
He's a busy soccer dad who's trying hard to learn the game.
Go for the end zone.
Whoops. Luckily, other things come easy.
fan. Kevin Gray with our 3-time Hall of Famer, Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Jeff Carroll holding it down here. And yes, this is obviously about, Game 6 of the American League Championship Series tonight. But damn it, we are watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce put on, you want to talk about a super show.
Against the Chargers.
Against the Chargers in Kansas City right now. Patrick Mahomes has nearly 330 yards passing in the first half.
And Travis Kelce has 193 yards in receptions in the first half. Just scored a touchdown, his 50th career touchdown. And you know who's up in the suite?
Giving us the most unseasoned handshakes that we've ever seen in our lives between Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes.
I mean.
But yeah, Travis Kelce, it's about to be halftime. 9 catches for $143 and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, like I said, nearly 330 yards passing in the first half. Chiefs pinning the extra point, about to go up 24-17. Just an absolute show right now in Arrowhead at Kansas City as Patrick Mahomes looked around and saw what Lamar Jackson did today.
Yeah, that's what it was. Fired him up.
The Ravens throttled the Detroit Lions, and Lamar Jackson had four touchdown passes today. Patrick Mahomes said, hold my beer.
Watch this.
Hold my beer, dog.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Because Mahomes has been on fire so far in the first half and on this week 7 of the National Football League. But it is all about the Texas Rangers.
There's the Swifties. No, she didn't do a little dance. With Brittany Mahomes.
When I tell you the most unseasoned handshakes you will ever see in your life.
They made their own personal high fives. Oh, my goodness.
Unpracticed, unseasoned, everything. Somebody jumped on my Twitter, was like, with extra mayonnaise.
No, they didn't go there.
No, I tweeted it out at Kevin Gray Sports. I was like, yeah, Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes was the most unseasoned handshake you ever see in life. Somebody was like, yeah, with extra mayonnaise. Damn. Damn. Let's get you ready, though, for not only tonight's game, but let's take a look back.
You're trying to start some bad blood. I said it.
I ain't starting nothing. They did that to themselves. They did that to themselves. Anyway, TruckRate.com text line 877-881-1053 if you want to get in on the conversation with you until 6:30 p.m. tonight. Let's go around the LCSs because while we got Game 6 tonight between the Rangers and the Astros, Jeff, last night, the Philadelphia Phillies behind. I love Reds because Reds texted me. All he said was, hey, Kev, your man did it again last night. And I was like, what you talking about? And he was talking about Kyle Schwarber.
High drive, way back, right field. Schwarber does it again. An absolute bomb out of here. Kyle Schwarber, his 5th home run of this championship series. Makes it 3-0 Phillies.
Brian Anderson on the call for TBS last night. As you heard, 5 home runs already in the National League Championship Series. Kyle Schwarber, if they go on to win this series, he is hands down the National League Championship Series MVP because he has been putting on an absolute show so far through 5 games. He also got some help last night from his good buddy Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper said not to be outdone by Kyle Schwarber. He got on the board last night as well.
Harper, another drive. How far will it fly? Schwarber and Harper do it again. 4-0 Phillies.
How far did it go? Let's try 444 feet last night from Bryce Harper. Now, this is after he hit that home run in the 6th inning. This is after, I don't know if you saw this, Bryce Harper stole home last night.
What?
In Arizona. Yeah, Bryce Harper was on one.
Oh, my goodness.
For the Philadelphia Phillies last night.
His beard got dirty.
He joined Randy Arozarena as the only players in postseason history to steal home and hit a home run in the same game.
He showed out.
Bryce Harper did. This is how it ended last night in Arizona.
2-2. Carroll, did he go? Yes, he did. A strikeout to end the ball game. The Phillies win Game 5. Matt Strom finishes it off. The Phillies up 3-2.
Again, Brian Anderson on the call for TBS. That's right. The Philadelphia Phillies get a 6-1 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks last night in Game 5 of the NLCS to take that 3-2 series lead. Check this out. Game 6 is tomorrow night in the city of brotherly love. The Phillies this postseason so far, gentlemen, check this out. 6-0 at Citizens Bank Park this postseason. They don't lose in Philadelphia. The Diamondbacks are in deep trouble against the reigning National League champions, the Philadelphia Phillies.
If the Phillies go to the World Series, and it looks like they're on their way, if they were to face the Astros, they would try to take care of some unfinished business. If they would take on the Rangers, here's the honor, Ranger fans. Who did the Rangers start the season against this year? The first 2 games. The Phillies! It's full circle.
Yeah, it swept them to start the season, which is funny because if the Rangers go on to win this series, do you know who will have home field advantage?
The Rangers.
The Rangers will have home field advantage in the World Series by virtue of sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies to start the season.
Isn't that ironic?
I will say, though, between the Rangers lineup, the Astros lineup, the lineup that the Philadelphia Phillies put out there, JT Realmuto hit a home run last night as well. You've got 3 of the best lineups in all of baseball.
Now, you say that, and what's so crazy about it is this. Everybody's now completely forgotten about the Braves and the Dodgers.
Well, I mean, they made us forget about them by getting,
getting beat
in the playoffs. Thanks to the Phillies for, taking out the
Braves.
The Braves
who were the best team in baseball all year. And then the Dodgers won 100 games and didn't go nowhere.
And they did so for the second year in a row, of
Diamondbacks
course.
got them.
The Phillies taking out the Atlanta Braves. But, yeah, that lineup with
it's dangerous.
Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, like they've got
they got talent, man.
Terrific lineup. And then, of course, at the top of that rotation, with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola, the Phillies are nothing to be played with because they've got a lot of depth in a lot of different places, and they've got 2 top-of-the-line starters at the top of that rotation. But that lineup has been absolutely devastating so far in these playoffs. Kyle Schwarber, again, has just been on an absolute tear when you look at the numbers and what he's done so far, as I mentioned, with the 5 postseason, with the 5 home runs in this American League or National League Championship Series alone. Just to give you more on the combination of Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, this is coming from ESPN Stats and Info. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have combined for 22 home runs in the last 2 postseasons. 11 each. That is the most combined homers by a duo over a 2-year span in the playoffs in Major League Baseball history.
My goodness. And by the way, for those who are trying to keep up, when the Rangers played the Phillies to start the season, Harper was injured. He didn't play.
And again, more numbers on this because, the numbers are staggering for Schwarber at this point. His 11 home runs in the National League Championship Series are the most in National League Championship Series history, are his 11 home runs. His legacy in October just continues to grow.
The 850 says every time the Phillies lose at least 2 World Series, they win the next time they go. So the Phillies are going to win this year. It's already a done deal, with or without. And the 817 says, he's correcting me. What do you mean if? When the Rangers beat the Astros, we will meet the Phillies. My bad.
I said when this series were made official between the Rangers and the Astros and the Phillies and the Diamondbacks, I said, man, a Rangers-Phillies World Series would be hella fun.
Sure would be.
Between all the hitting for both of these 2 teams.
Let alone the bad blood between the 2 cities.
And that's the other part. See, that's kind of why I wanted a Rangers-Phillies World Series, because you just mentioned it, all the hate between Dallas
and Philadelphia,
and how that, of course, is played out between the Cowboys and the Eagles over the years.
By the way, SMU smoked Temple 55-0 up there in Philly Friday night. Just throw that in there.
Oh, wow. Look at there.
Just want to throw that in there.
Look at there. Didn't even realize that. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
So as we continue around the LCS, again, Phillies on the brink of getting back to the World Series for the 2nd consecutive year behind their high-powered offense that showed off last night. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. Want to make sure that you know, again, going into tonight's game between the Rangers and the Astros, that Astros reliever Brian Abreu received a 2-game suspension for hitting Adolis Garcia.
Yep.
He is going to appeal that suspension, which will make him available for tonight's game. And depending on when the appeal is heard, he could be missing a potential Game 7 tomorrow, or if the Astros go on to win tonight, Games 1 or 2 of the World Series.
Okay, so make a note of this. Generally speaking, because I looked it up yesterday, whenever somebody appeals to the suspension does not take effect until the next year. It has never really taking place during that same series or the next one. It's just how baseball go, to quote the great Ron Washington.
Okay, so
he's going to be around.
So let me update that. This is coming down just 25 minutes ago. As this comes from KHOU in Houston. Dusty Baker says Astros reliever Brian Abreu is appealing his suspension. A meeting is supposed to take place at 5 p.m.
Oh, really?
So it's unclear if he will be available for tonight's Game 6.
Oh, really?
So that meeting apparently is scheduled to take place here.
They expedited this meeting.
Yeah, in the next apparently 7 minutes to determine whether or not Abreu would be available. Again, if he does win his appeal, we'll see what that means for his availability. But it sounds like that hearing will take place prior to Game 6. So if that suspension is upheld, he will not be available, and that suspension would begin tonight in Game 6 as far as that championship series is concerned.
Okay, so check this out. For those few Astro fans, or for a few people, well, he didn't hit him on purpose, and you still want to believe that lie. Here's the stat you need to, and baseball is about stats. It's all about analytics. This man faced right-handed hitters all year long, threw over 500 pitches to right-handed hitters, and only one time hit one. One time happened to be El Bombi. How did that happen? What are the odds? All year long, never hit a right-handed batter until how did that get away from him? He would never do that on purpose. Dusty, I already know what you're doing, man. Dusty didn't call for it, but don't even try to back your man up. The numbers suggest it never. Come on. And he hit him square on the shoulder.
Well, that will be the story going into tonight's game, is whether or not that suspension will be upheld. Apparently, we may get an answer before Game 6 tonight, as, again, a hearing is supposed to be taking place within the next 5 or 6 minutes, according to KHOU in Houston. Dusty Baker saying that he is officially appealing the suspension and that the hearing will be tonight prior to Game 6. So more to come on that as we're with you until 6:30 p.m. tonight right here on our Rangers pregame super show on your home of the Texas Rangers. That is our Around the LCSs here, as, again, the Phillies on the brink of reaching the World Series for the second consecutive year. Rangers trying to keep the Astros, at least for one more night, from not reaching the World Series again to defend their championship. The official pregame show begins at 6:30 p.m. with Jared Sandler. Coming up next, though, here on our ALCS pregame super show, it's your official Rangers-Astros Game 6 preview. What Bruce Bochy, Marcus Semien, and others had to say about this matchup tonight and how they find a way to get a win against those hated Astros. Next, I want to fight through the Fan.
Nighttime on the Fan means Rangers baseball. Or the Get Right with Kevin.
The Houston Astros. It's our Rangers pregame super show right here on your home of the Rangers, 105 through the fan. Kevin Gray with the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Jeff Carroll holding it down for you here. Going to get you ready with our official Rangers-Astros Game 6 preview with first pitch tonight at 7:03 p.m. at Minute Maid Park as the Rangers look to stave off elimination tonight.
Staying alive. Yeah.
I know they've been playing a bunch of Creed in the clubhouse. They might need to play that tonight.
The Drake version.
Well, I don't know about that. But at the same time.
I said that for you.
Thank you. A version of that maybe. But look, I'm excited about this game. It's been a magical season for this team, and you don't want to see it end.
No.
There have been a lot of ups and a lot of downs for this team, but they, tore through the first 7 games of this postseason. Unfortunately, having lost the last 3, now they have a chance to pick themselves up to extend this series one more game at least in the American League Championship Series. Nathan Eovaldi taking to the mound tonight for your Texas Rangers. Framber Valdez, who has struggled in his last 4 starts, particularly in the postseason, will get the call tonight for the Houston Astros. They look to get back to the World Series to defend their World Series championship. Meanwhile, of course, the Texas Rangers not only looking to stave off elimination, but win tomorrow night as well, where we presume Max Scherzer would be on the mound for the Texas Rangers to try to get back to the World Series for the first time since 2011. The news with respect to Brian Abreu, the setup man and reliever for the Houston Astros, according to KHOU of Houston, that appeal for his 2-game suspension is supposed to be taking place as of this moment right now. So we may or may not know the status of Brian Abreu's appealing of his suspension. If he does appeal, which he has done, if he wins, I should say, the appeal, that means he would be available for Game 6 tonight. If he doesn't, that suspension would begin tonight in Game 6 and extend to a possible Game 7 for the Houston Astros as well there.
I want them to do it. I'd be surprised if they do it. I'm talking about uphold the suspension and not uphold this. Yeah, uphold the suspension, etc. Don't get me wrong. He did it, and I gave you the numbers, and I got the exact number now. I told you he'd thrown over 500 pitches to right-handed hitters in the season and never hit one until El Bombi. He has actually thrown 549 fastballs to right-handed hitters. Not one time did he hit anybody until he hit Adolis Garcia in the arm. Of course he did it on purpose. Don't even argue about that. Anybody who got an Astro jersey walking around town, I don't want to hear about it.
And, of course, we got to that moment in terms of that suspension because of this moment here.
Adolis in each of the last 4 games has a hit and an RBI. Now 11 RBIs for the postseason, and the pitch hit him. Adolis starts jawing at Maldonado, and here come the benches as Adolis and Maldonado are separated by the home plate umpire, and there are players streaming from both sides. The bullpens are emptying right now, and as we look down there, I don't see any punches currently being thrown, but people are restraining the combatants, Adolis Garcia and Martin Maldonado.
Now notice nobody hit each other. They got fined. Dusty got fined, and Garcia got fined. Here's the deal. Maldonado obviously called this thing, and that's why he was John Maldonado, the catcher. And the reason I say that is because Garcia and Maldonado have bad blood. They both got into it back in July and both got ejected back then. So that's why Garcia didn't charge the mound. He looked at that catcher and said, "You Maldonado."
Wow. That's what you came up with, huh?
Maldonado.
Of course.
My mind was saying other things.
I know it was.
I wanted to keep a job.
Good job. Abreu, of course, was also fined for an undisclosed amount, as you mentioned, Adolis Garcia, Rangers pitcher Matt Bush, and Astros pitcher Lance McCullers Jr. and manager Dusty Baker were fined as well. Now, Garcia and Baker were ejected from the game, but not suspended. McCullers and Bush will be prohibited from sitting on their respective benches for the remainder of the American League Championship Series, Major League Baseball announced.
And this is because number 5. Bochy was asked yesterday, are the players still going to be remembering that? The emotions going to still carry over to tonight's game from Friday.
I don't see really any of this happening again, to be honest. Now you're talking about emotions with both teams, and especially ours. Yeah, I mean, you have an incident like that, and then a tough loss. But I'll say this about the club: they've been tested all year. You know that. You've been watching them. I don't know how many times I've been asked. Are they being tested? And each time they just found a way. And so that's what I'm proud about with these guys. And trust me, that's a tough loss. In fact, these guys to be focused. I said this back in Seattle. We lost that last game. I mean, there were some heads down there for a while, which is normal. But once you move past that and get back to the next day, they answered the bell.
They answered the bell by winning 7 straight playoff games. How about that for anybody who doubts the Texas Rangers?
Let's go with cut number 13. This is Marcus Semien speaking yesterday to the media. Do you feel the Astros are pitching you in a way that doesn't let you hit like you normally do?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Houston does a good job of. That's why they're in this position, because they stick to the game plan. Every team has a game plan to get us out. It's all about executing. And for us, it's all about making those adjustments. The adjustments that I make tend to be ones that help me see the ball well. Now it's about getting in the cage and, understanding what they're doing and how do I hit these pitches hard. And that's what I'm going to work on.
They've been pitching away from it. I mean, it's kind of like in the previous series against Baltimore. They said Corey Seager. No, this is Marcus Semien, but Corey Seager, for example, we ain't going to pitch to you. We're going to walk you. We just ain't going to go. Every team has a strategy. They have something that they want to do to get you out of your game or try to manipulate you into playing the way they need you to play. And that strategy for Semien, it's been working, unfortunately.
Well, it's very simple for this game tonight, for me in particular. It starts with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through the numbers a little bit for these two gentlemen.
Okay. The first number for those two gentlemen, $500 million. Yeah, I said it.
Well, that's a number that a lot of people have been obviously describing, the combined.
They do it with quarterbacks.
Salaries nearly $500 million combined, of course, for the two of them. But the numbers on the field, Semien, of course, is now 3 for 21 with no extra base hits and no RBIs in the American League Championship Series. Meanwhile, Corey Seager, just 5 of 22 with 1 RBI and a solo home run, of course, in Game 4.
They have 1 RBI, and that was their solo home run.
They have to be the two at the top of this lineup.
Yep.
To put pressure on Valdez and do so from jump.
Yeah, get him out. Get him out of there. Run him off.
And we saw that, of course,
getting
in Game 2, where they're able to chase him after 2 2/3 innings to get Evan Carter in the game. Now, Robbie Grossman, the same lineup that you saw in Game 2 is the same lineup that you see tonight in Game 6. Robbie Grossman's going to be hitting in the 3 spot.
Until Evan Carter comes in.
So it's imperative that if you're this Rangers lineup, find a way to jump on Valdez early, get him out of there, and then bring in the young kid and Evan Carter to be able to be a part of this lineup. So
put it like this. Also, when we talk about Evan Carter's bat in the 3-hole, let's look at it like this as well. Had they not chased Valdez and you could bring in Evan Carter, you wouldn't have saw Evan Carter's incredible catch against the wall. You see how these things happen? That's why you got to get him out of there, because Grossman doesn't make that catch, even though Grossman helped walk Evan Carter through the ins and outs and that playing that left field over there and what to expect and all that. Grossman still doesn't make that catch. Evan Carter does, because Evan Carter is Evan Carter. And he's in that game because y'all chased Valdez. Chase him.
Meanwhile, you look at the pitching for tonight's game for the Texas Rangers. They send a guy who knows a little something about big game situations, and that is Nathan Eovaldi. As Eovaldi so far in this postseason, 3-0 with a 2.29 ERA, just 5 earned runs in 19 2/3 innings and 3 postseason starts. They're going to need him to go deep into this game tonight, to shorten this game, to allow Jose Leclerc, Josh Spores, Aroldis Chapman, and others to be able to lock this down tonight against a very, very, very good Houston Astros lineup. Nathan Eovaldi's got to be the key to that tonight and give them at least 6 quality innings to allow this Rangers lineup to have a chance to win this game tonight.
Well, that's what he does. And because that's what he does, you're in a perfect situation. Man's got a 2.29 ERA, a 0.89 whip, 24 strikeouts, only one walk in 19 2/3 innings in his playoff starts. He's 3-0. And understand this about the walks. I was saying this from the top of the show. The walks are what are quietly killing the Rangers. I mean, it's one thing Semien hadn't been Semien.
Well, it wasn't quiet Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. That one walk to Singleton doesn't make any sense to me at all, other than Dusty Baker knew what he was doing when he caused that delay and would not remove himself from the game. Back to the walks, though. Evo has one walk in 3 playoff starts, 19 2/3 innings. Meanwhile, in Arlington, Globe Life Field, the other pitchers for the Rangers have given up 14 walks. 14 walks. Those little things are what caused Houston to have the big cushions, the big leads. And it's like, oh, every game was a blowout because of the walks. Jordan going Jordan. Ain't nothing you can do about that. Jose Eovaldi, he going to do what he do because that's what he does.
Jose Altuve, yeah.
I mean, Altuve, excuse me. Altuve. A lot of teams, a lot of players are A's with the first part of the last name down there. Altuve is going to Altuve. He's going to the Hall of Fame. But guess what? As you mentioned in that 9th inning, if he doesn't walk Singleton, if Leclerc doesn't walk Singleton, who, by the way, can't even hit his weight, he's batting like 120-something. If he doesn't walk him, that game isn't won on that one swing. It's just that simple. So here is Evo, who does not walk anybody. That's going to be key. And also remember this. Jared Sandler told you guys on the Get Right Friday night. I was driving home from the Mavericks game, listening to him spout that wisdom. He said the reason Houston wins all of these road games, they're the best road team in baseball this year. They suck at home, 40-45 at home, but they win on the road all the time because they hit first. And their lineup is just it's incredible. Rangers lineup is incredible too. But the Rangers weren't hitting first in their own damn park. Guess what? Rangers hit first tonight in Houston.
The other storyline, the other major storyline for me that plays out tonight is that something has got to give in this series. The Houston Astros, of course, were 51-30 on the road during the regular season. Won all 3 games, of course, in Arlington. 5-0 this postseason on the road, but just 1-3 at home this postseason. If they're going to win this series, they have to do something that they weren't very good at all regular season and now postseason long, which is win a damn game in their own ballpark, because the Rangers have proven to be terrific on the road, not just during the course of the regular season, but of course in this postseason as well. Something has got to give in these final 2 games of the series if you're the Astros trying to find a way to get back to yet another World Series.
Oh, I see the Washington Nationals situation. I see the Washington Nationals win the World Series of the Astros because they won all 4 games in Houston. I see the Rangers winning all 4 games in Houston.
Wow.
Just that simple.
I mean,
they got too much purple drink in that building for those Astros.
I mean, just think about the
I
road.
slid that in.
I know, I heard you. Just think about the road and home splits for both of these teams. As I mentioned, the Astros had the 2nd best record in the American League on the road. Only Baltimore was better at 52-29. The Astros were 39-42 at home. Conversely, Rangers were 50-31 at home this year. 40-41 away from Globe Life Field. So something's got to give when it comes to these 2 teams. Can the Astros win a game at home? Can the Rangers do something that they weren't necessarily great at when it comes to their road record at 40-41? We'll see.
We'll find out.
We're going to find out in short order as game number 6 between the Houston Astros and your Texas Rangers will be tonight at Minute Maid Park. First pitch at 7:03 on the Louisiana Hot Sauce Texas Rangers Radio Network. You can also watch that game on Fox Sports 1. Joe Davis and John Smoltz will be on the call. And, of course, the Hall of Famer Eric Nadel, Matt Hicks, and Jared Sandler will have you covered all night long right here on 105 through the Fan. That's your official Rangers-Astros Game 6 American League Championship Series preview as the Rangers take on the Astros tonight to stave off elimination.
Staying alive.
Coming up next,
Yeah.
he is a baseball Hall of Famer and your radio voice of the Texas Rangers. Eric Nadel joins us next to give us his thoughts on the Rangers taking on the Astros tonight at Game 6 of the ALCS. We do it next on 105 Through the Fan.
DFW's #1 Cowboys podcast. 1.2 million downloads and counting. Love of the Star with top insiders Brian Broaddus and Bobby Bell on Odyssey or wherever your top podcasts are found.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed.
Odyssey app, the truckred.com text line, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053 if you want to get in on the conversation. Right now, though, we go back to the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill Hotline where we welcome in our Hall of Fame voice of the Texas Rangers, calling tonight's action live in Houston. Eric Nadel joining us here on 105 through the Fan. Eric, good evening to you, sir.
Hey, Eric.
How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Doing well. How do the Rangers, Eric, channel what was a disappointing 3 games in Arlington to staving off elimination and getting themselves to a Game 7 tomorrow night in Houston?
Well, it's funny. I asked Bruce Bochy about that on the manager show today, whether he wants the guys to come in and play super motivated and maybe even angry, and he said he does. He kind of surprised me with the answer. I thought he'd say, no, we want to go out there like it's a regular game, and he said no. He doesn't mind his guys going out there with a little bit of anger. So this is going to be the most intense game yet in what has been already a very intense series.
In your experience, when you have seen or you've learned that players were playing that way based off of a particular situation, how have you seen in your experience those players respond with playing with that kind of emotion and what that means for a particular outcome?
Well, there have been so few games, that have been like that. When you think about the 2 previous heartbreaking, crushing losses the Rangers have suffered in postseason, it's tough to tell. Game 6 of the World Series in 2011 was followed by the Rangers scoring 2 runs in the first inning in Game 7. People remember that game for being not much of a game, and that's true. But the Rangers actually came out and scored 2 runs in the top of the first inning, only to have Matt Harrison unable to hold the lead in the bottom of the first inning. But, it worked that day after a really impassioned speech by Ron Washington in the clubhouse prior to that game. The only other game that I think was comparable was Game 5 in the division series in Toronto in 2015, and that was an elimination game, the Jose Bautista bat flip game, and that ended the season. So you really can't say the Rangers had a chance to come out, with a chip on their shoulder the next day. Their season was over.
In the aftermath of that situation with Abreu, he was suspended for 2 games. He appealed it. The suspension is having a hearing as we speak, I understand. What do you think might happen? And you've seen a lot of these things and over the years, or you've heard about them through baseball over the years. What do you think could happen and may happen? I was surprised they actually had this hearing actually before this game started today.
Well, I'm not sure that that's the hearing that's going on. Dusty Baker said there's going to be a meeting at 5 o'clock. He didn't say it would be the hearing about the appeal. It's a meeting after which Abreu will decide whether or not to appeal. We don't know. It could be the actual hearing, but that was not stated definitively by Dusty Baker. I was down there when he was talking to the media. But generally, if they suspend a guy for 2 games, after the appeal, they reduce it to 1. That's kind of standard procedure. If they eliminate the suspension completely, in a way, they're showing up the umpires, especially since the crew chief, James Hoy, said that all 6 umpires agreed that the pitch was intentional. It would be really hard for them to vacate the suspension entirely and decide, well, no, all 6 of our umpires were wrong. He didn't do it intentionally. I've talked to a lot of people here today about it, and I'm now not convinced the pitch was intentional. I'll go into the I don't know camp. It just looked horrible. It missed by so much that it makes no sense for Brian Abreu to have missed that badly. But talking to a couple of baseball people and former players about it today, they've provided some interesting reasons that perhaps Abreu would have missed by that much. And so I don't know, but Abreu is a very soft-spoken, very religious guy. And when he has his hearing, I imagine he will come across as extremely believable. So I'd be shocked if the 2 games suspension stands. I'd also be surprised if they don't reduce it to 1. And depending on when they do that, he may or may not be available to pitch tonight. And if there's a Game 7, he may or may not be available to pitch tomorrow if they don't decide until tomorrow on whether or not the suspension will be upheld at 2 games.
Well, that's tremendous perspective there on the kind of the outlook when it comes to, that hearing of what that could look like and play itself out for the rest of the series and potentially, beyond that. The number, Eric, and I'm sure you're very familiar with it, 0-5 with an 8.88 ERA. That is Framber Valdez's last 5 starts at Minute Maid Park. How did the Rangers do what they did in Game 2 and jump all over Valdez early and often in this game tonight to get him out of there as quickly as they can?
Well, you've got to make him get the sinker up and hope that he hangs some curveballs. He threw a much higher percentage of curveballs and a lower percentage of sinkers in his first start against the Rangers than he normally does. I would imagine he'll do that again today, unless he comes out of the bullpen feeling that he's got a really good sinker. The reason that he hasn't been successful really over the last 2 months of the season is that his sinker flattened out. He was throwing it harder, but without as much sink, and he wasn't getting the ground ball percentage that he had gotten in the past. So depending on how he feels coming out of that bullpen may determine how he pitches to the Rangers. But I would assume that Marcus Semien to start the game is not going to get a fastball. I would be shocked if the first pitch of the game is a fastball from Valdez. And, he hit the first pitch for a base hit up the middle the last time the Rangers saw Valdez, which was just on Monday.
Even in an elimination game tonight, Eric, are you, surprised, or are you, feeling the same way that you felt in Game 2 with Bruce Bochy starting Robbie Grossman in left field for Evan Carter, even with Carter's struggles against left-handed pitching? Are you surprised he's still sticking with that same lineup given what he's got going tonight?
No, I think I would have been surprised if he hadn't, given the fact that Grossman was so good against lefties this year. And it worked last time, even though Grossman hit a little dribbler, that was the ball in which Valdez made the double error. But the chance to get ahead early, I think, is what Bochy is seizing on. Right. And then as soon as you get the lead, then you get Evan Carter into the game. Hopefully you get Valdez out of the game. And, of course, the Astros don't have any left-handed relief pitching, which makes it a lot easier for the manager to do it the way he's doing it.
Did Evo and Montgomery pitch the crowd out of the game down there in Houston the last couple of games? I was wondering because I'm not there, but it seems like late in the game the crowds were getting real loud, but it seemed like they were on their hands when those two were pitching. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, it was a combination of the Rangers scoring early and the Rangers starting pitchers pitching so well. In Game 1 against Verlander, the Rangers scored in the second inning and scored again in the 5th inning, and Houston didn't score at all. And then the next day, the Rangers had the big 4-run first inning against Valdez, and that combined with the way Eovaldi pitched took the crowd out of the game.
Hall of Famer Eric Nadel joining us right here on our Rangers pregame super show here on your home of the Rangers 105 through the Fan.
Okay, you're not a pitcher, but you watch a lot of them. How would you pitch to Jose Altuve?
I don't know enough about his swing dynamics to have an idea of what's the best way to get him out. Clearly, he can hit the ball in all 4 quadrants, but, he didn't have his greatest year in terms of batting average. He's not the guy that he was when he won 3 batting titles, and hit 340 or 350. So clearly he can be pitched to, but you just don't make mistakes against him. And, as a guess hitter, you've got to sequence your pitches correctly so he doesn't guess right, because, if he does, there's a good chance he'll do what he did on Friday and hit that changeup into the seats.
Yeah, and hopefully have no one on the bases when you pitch to him.
Yeah, don't walk anybody, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Eovaldi's not likely to walk anybody, but the walk to John Singleton was just absolutely deadly in that 9th inning on Friday. This is a guy who hasn't had an at-bat all postseason, meaning, he hasn't batted in a month. And the Rangers walked him. He never had to take the bat off his shoulder.
As we look at this Rangers lineup tonight, we have obviously chronicled the struggles of Marcus Semien and Corey Seager so far in this American League Championship Series. It goes without saying that these two have got to be better going into tonight's game. But what specifically in your mind do those two have to do to help this Rangers lineup here?
Well, they got to find ways of getting on base. With Seager, remember in the previous 2 series he walked 11 times, and he hasn't walked at all in this series. This is game 6, and he hasn't drawn a walk. And so he's probably been a little bit over-anxious. Yeah, he's a first ball hitter, but he probably needs to be a little more selective. As far as Marcus is concerned, it just looks like his timing is off a little bit. I don't know if his swing mechanics are off, and that's why he's hitting so many balls high in the air. But definitely there's a problem with timing. Bruce Bochy has mentioned, on our show, in Texas, and again today to the media, that he thinks Semien's been a little too pull conscious since the Astros have been pitching him repeatedly outside, that maybe he should start thinking about hitting the ball the other way, which is something Marcus doesn't do that much.
Hey, Eric, I don't have any concerns about Leclerc, but I think a lot of Ranger fans might, from some of the texts and calls we got over the weekend. I think it's because he seems so laid back out there as opposed to a Chapman who's very intense. Closers are different kind of guys. Can you talk about Leclerc's personality and the fact that, how you feel coming off of, giving up that homer to lose the game, how he might pitch if he were called upon tonight?
That's a good question. I think he'll be fine. He had a day off yesterday, but he is a very soft-spoken guy. He doesn't have the anger out there that a lot of closers seem to have. It's an extremely different sort of style. It reminds me of Sean Tollison when he was the Ranger closer.
Oh, yeah.
Who's also a very mild-mannered guy, both off the field and on the field. And you don't see the same type of fire, but it's there. And I would imagine that with all the success that Jose Leclerc has had in the last couple of months, one home run is not going to shake him.
Eric, as this series has played out, what is one thing that has surprised you most and one thing that has disappointed you most about this series so far?
I guess what has disappointed me the most is that the Rangers haven't had the kind of timely hitting that they had in the first 2 series. It seemed whenever they needed the big hit in those series, they got it. And, they hit really well with men in scoring position, and that just hasn't happened in this series. Rangers came into this series, with men in scoring position hitting right about 300, and in this series they've hit about 200 with men in scoring position. So that has surprised me, although maybe it shouldn't given the quality of the Astros pitchers. And what's disappointed me, I think the point that you brought up, the fact that Semien and Seager have not risen to the level that you expect out of them. You look what the Phillies have done on the backs of their big guys, Schwarber and Turner and Harper. And the Rangers, they have their 3 big guys, and Adolis has done his part, but Semien and Seager to this point in this series have not.
Last one before we let you go, Eric, as you prepare for tonight's game. The Rangers win tonight's game 6 because they do what against the Astros tonight?
They get a bunch of runs off Framber Valdez as they did last time.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Chase Framber as quickly as you can.
Chase him and let Evo hold it down.
Be a lead.
Yep.
Eric, we sincerely appreciate you taking some time with us before tonight's crucial Game 6 of the American League Championship Series. Have a hell of a call. We'll be listening tonight on the Rangers Radio Network. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be with you.
There he goes, Eric Nadel, baseball Hall of Famer and your Hall of Fame voice of the Texas Rangers. Good enough to join us here on our Rangers pregame super show as we get you ready for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series between your Rangers and the the Houston Astros tonight. First pitch at 7:03.
It happens.
Pregame begins at 6:30 with my guy, your guy, our favorite guy, Texas Rangers insider, Jared Sandler. He'll be joining us at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock and give us his thoughts going into tonight's game. Coming up next, though, Rangers only. We hear from Bruce Bochy, Marcus Semien, and others about their thoughts and their approach to tonight's Game 6 as they look to stave off elimination against the Astros. Next on 105 Through the Fan.
Attention football fans, it's your boy Nate Noon at J. Alexander Law. It's that time of year.
up here in just a moment where we hear from Marcus Semien, Bruce Bochy, and others about
Rangers only.
The goings-on tonight as the Rangers look to stave off elimination against the Houston Astros, as the Astros are looking to make their third consecutive trip to the Fall Classic and defend their World Series championship that they won, of course, a year ago. The Philadelphia Phillies moving yet another game closer to making it back-to-back World Series appearances for the Phillies after they got the win last night in Arizona. They move back to Philadelphia for games 6 and, if necessary, a game 7. Game 6 of
they don't lose at home.
Yeah, the game 6.
There'll be no game 7.
The NLCS is tomorrow, and they're looking, as Chris mentioned, they are undefeated so far at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the Texas Rangers, who have been stellar on the road, need to continue that play tonight in order to extend their season at least one more game. Let's go to cut number 8. Marcus Semien, our Rangers only here. Marcus, how does it feel to have Nate Eovaldi in a must-win game going into tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about Montgomery being our ace right now. I think we have 2. I think what Evo's done not only this year, but in his career in the biggest moments has given us all the confidence in the world in him. The way his stuff's been playing with the velocity and just the way he mixes up everything, it makes it so tough on a hitter. I've been that hitter facing him plenty of times where, you don't know what to hone in on because he's got so many weapons. So, we're hoping for that guy, and we also want to put up runs, for him. So, we're happy to have him on the mound.
Yeah, he's very complex. Evo, very complex. Think what he might throw, and you're going to guess wrong.
A man who has 4 different pitches that he can throw for strikes, and a guy that so far this postseason has been lights out for this team. We have detailed it throughout the course of the show so far. Undefeated so far this postseason with a 2.29 ERA. He will need to be at his absolute best tonight, not just to give a quality start, but to give this Rangers lineup an opportunity to do what they did in Game 2 against Framber Valdez, which is jump on him early and often to be able to give him some run support so that he can pitch to contact to one of the best defenses in all of Major League Baseball, a team that was top 5 in fielding percentage, a team that was top 5 in fewest errors. This year, this Rangers defense will have a chance to be, much more aggressive as Eovaldi continues to be the kind of pitcher that he has been so far this postseason.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, just to remind everybody, he's pitching better than he was going into the All-Star game. This is according to what he was saying. Yeah, after the All-Star game, he had 6 weeks where he was nursing his injury. And they ramped him up slowly. And that's what a lot of people are just, that's all they can think about is, well, he wasn't that good in August and September. We couldn't count on him then. That's because they weren't trying to count on him. They wanted to make sure he would be right for the postseason, and he's been nails, totally nails in the postseason. He's even said that it's a blessing in disguise that he missed those 6 weeks because he probably would not have the strength in his arm that he's got right now. That after the long season, he probably wouldn't have the same kind of velocity, the same. Remember, they're always looking at his velocity just before they just, put him on the IR. It's like, okay, wait a minute. There's no zip in that ball. But now he's got everything back. Everything's back. He's completely healthy, and he's eating up innings, which means you don't have to expose your bullpen. And it also, because they're playing in Houston, the Rangers hit first. I can't say how important that is.
Eovaldi will be looking to get some run support from the top of that lineup with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager. Bruce Bochy, how important is it to get Seager and Semien going tonight against the Astros?
They're critical to our offense. No getting around it. They're our main guys. When you look at that, along with Dolly, their experience and their ability to hit the ball. So, we had some chances there, and we had the right guys up. It's not always going to happen, but it does make life easier. Trust me, when they're going well and getting those big hits. Like I said, Marcus did all he could. I know we're talking about, his hitting struggles, but, he smoked that ball. What else can you do? And if it gets by, we tied the game. We got runners on first and third, so we just didn't have a lot of luck on that. But getting back to your point, we need those guys to put runs on the board.
I Yeah, and I love the point that Eric Nadel made during our last segment, which is you've seen in the opposite, LCS with Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and Trey Turner, what they've been able to do, their big three, and how they've propelled, Philly to within, a game of reaching the World Series again. Adolis Garcia, for the most part, has been holding up his end of the bargain. It's now time for Corey Seager and Marcus Semien to join the party to help this Rangers lineup be able to extend this series to a 7th game. If not, and we continue to see the struggles from the top of that lineup, it's going to be very difficult for the guys behind. And not to say that they are not capable of it when we're talking about, Josh Young and some of these other guys at the bottom of this lineup, but it's incumbent upon those two at the top to set the table for Texas tonight.
It really is, because it's almost like, okay, how many games is it going to before it happens? Because when it does happen, it's just going to be outrageous.
Floodgates are going to open, yeah.
Floodgates are going to open because the entire lineup becomes deadly again. Imagine they would not even won those first 2 games. Put it like this. Imagine the Rangers, they could have been up 3-2 without a contribution from those 2. That's how crazy or how deep the Rangers offense really is. But imagine if those 2 get started and do what they have been doing all year long. Just what they've been doing all year long.
Let's go back to Marcus Semien, and we talked about, a little bit, how devastating that loss was in Game 5. Getting that cleared out of your mind and approaching tonight's game as far as an elimination game is concerned. Let's go to cut number 14. Marcus, what was your and the team's approach with the day off on Saturday preparing for tonight's game?
Yeah, a day off in the playoffs is still a work day, so everybody wants to make sure their bodies are right. And, we fine-tune our skills at practice, have a good travel on to Houston, get some good rest, and that's what it's all about. I try and keep things as simple as possible when talking about bouncing back from a tough series or a tough loss, or in this case, 3 games that didn't go our way. But what we have to understand is that we had the game under control until one swing happened. So how can we figure out how to continue to control the ball game and figure out how to finish?
I'm going to say this. I've been thinking about this real hard. Yeah, we want those 2 guys to show up and do some things. But I think the X factor, and I think he may be unleashed, and that's Josh Young. I think Josh Young is going to hit some bombs tonight. He and Garcia's going to do what Garcia does. Eovaldi, watch Josh Young. Watch him make some plays. That's all I got to say. And Tavares is going to do what he does. Leo Tavares in the outfield and at bat. Nate Lewis going to do what he does. Just you can pick your poison. Pick your poison, but watch Josh Young come in big. And of course, Carter's going to get some action too.
Yeah, the bottom of this lineup tonight, when you look at Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Young, Leody Taveras, with the struggles that we've seen at the top of the lineup with Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, those 3 gentlemen have a big chance tonight to make a really big impact on this game. In particular, as you mentioned, Josh Young, who so far through the playoffs has been, along with Evan Carter, one of the biggest stories for this team. Those 3 will have to find a way if that top
they
of the
did
line.
In the bottom of the 9th. That's what people are kind of forgetting. They gave the 2 stars the opportunity, and unfortunately it didn't work, but they did their part.
They'll need to do their part.
They got on base.
Speaking of that game on Friday night, cut number 5 from Bruce Bochy here, as little Rangers only here, getting you ready for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series tonight. How do you expect the emotions from Friday's game to carry over to tonight's game?
I don't see really any of this happening again, to be honest. Now you're talking about emotions with both teams, and especially ours. Yeah, you have an incident like that and then a tough loss, but I'll say this about the club. They've been tested all year. You know that. You've been watching them. I don't know how many times I've been asked, are they being tested? And each time they just found a way. And so that's what I'm proud about with these guys. And trust me, that's a tough loss. But these guys to be focused. I said this back in Seattle. We lost that last game. There were some heads down there for a while, which is normal. But once you move past that and get back to the next day, they answer the bell.
Well, they will be put to the ultimate test tonight in a game that could end their season. We've talked about resiliency for this team all season long, the up and down nature, the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this team, whether it be an 8-game win streak, a 6-game losing streak, a 6-game win streak, a 6-game losing streak. This team has been through the highs and lows of this season. They all, it goes without saying, will need to be at their very best tonight. Otherwise, their season ends in a place where not a lot of people want to see it in, and that would be in Houston tonight.
Put it like this. If their season were to end, and I don't see it ending tonight, I don't even see it ending on Monday night on Game 7. But if it were, they did more than anybody expected them to, and they gave us all a hell of a ride. I predicted they would win 85 games. They won 90 games. I predicted they'd make the wild card. They not only made the wild card, they made it to the American League Championship Series. No one has anything. Look, it takes time to build. If they were to go to the World Series this year and win the World Series, talk about an amazing ride from a team that lost over 100 games 2 years ago, a team that lost more one-run games last season than any team in the major leagues. I mean, come on. It's just been an amazing thing. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. All the different guys we've had on the show, they're predicting the Rangers to win this game. And it's not just, they're homers. The Astros they don't win at home. They're 40-45 at home. This is a team that won the World Series last year. How the hell are you 40-45 at home? That means the opportunity is there. You hear that? That knocking? That's the opportunity knocking. And the Rangers will answer the door.
Well, that opportunity presents itself tonight, and the opportunity is there to be seized upon as the Rangers look to do so to stave off elimination in Game 6 of the American League Championship Series. That's a little Rangers only here as we get you ready for Game 6 of the ALCS. Again, Nathan Eovaldi, Framber Valdez, respectively, for both the Rangers and the Astros. Can the Rangers find a way yet one more time to be able to move to a Game 7? And all bets are off once you get to that Game 7, potentially tomorrow night. It's our Rangers ALCS pregame super show right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, my guy, your guy, our favorite guy, Texas Rangers insider Jared Sandler, live from Houston to get you ready for Rangers Astros tonight on 105.3 The Fan.
Welcoming new listeners to our clubhouse with open arms.
I don't know what to say.
105.3 The Fan.
Final hour here on our Rangers pregame super show as we get you ready for Game 6 of the American League Championship Series right here on your home of the Cowboys and Texas Rangers. 105.3 The Fan. Kevin Gray with the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Jeff Carroll holding it down for you here. Really appreciate you joining us on Odyssey and the Odyssey app. The DetroitRay.com text line 877-881-1053. 877-881-1053. If you want to get in on the conversation, we are live on Twitch at twitch.tv/DallasFanCam and on YouTube as well. Search 105 through the Fan on YouTube and hit the subscribe button while you are there. Rangers sending Nathan Eovaldi to the mound tonight, 3-0 in the postseason with a 2.29 ERA, looking to help the Rangers stave off elimination as the Astros look to clinch a third consecutive trip to the World Series as they look to defend their World Series championship and looking to do so in front of their home fans tonight, something that they have not done very well so far this season and postseason, which is win a game at Minute Maid Park. With that, though, we go live to Houston right now where we welcome in my guy, your guy, our favorite guy, Texas Rangers insider and play-by-play man, Jared Sandler tonight. As Jared, this team, after coming off what was a devastating loss in Game 5, have no choice but to pick themselves up off the mat tonight to extend their season one more time. Your thoughts and feelings about how this team has dealt with the last 48 hours coming into tonight's game.
Yeah, I asked Robbie Grossman about this, and Robbie's been around. He's been on different teams. He's been in a lot of different situations, and I've checked in with Robbie throughout the year. He's been a really good, pulse of what's going on, and he just said, at the end of the day, the question I asked him was, is it tougher to bounce back from a tough postseason loss compared to a tough regular season loss? And he said, obviously, there's more emotion tied to a tough postseason loss, but it's not tougher to bounce back because it's the playoffs, right? It's not game 112 when it's 103 degrees and you're just kind of bummed because you thought you had to win. If you can't get up for this, then what are you really doing?
Exactly.
And so I think the team's responded well. I think, Bruce Bochy, I think, said it, and maybe you guys played some audio from Marcus Semien. I forget who said it, but, I think they took Friday and they allowed themselves to be upset and feel however they needed to feel, but they came to the park yesterday ready to go, and I think that the veteran leadership of this team probably helps in that regard. But if the Rangers lose this game and they get blown out and look flat, then maybe you can say that emotionally they were drained after what happened. But anything other than that, if the Rangers were to lose, it's because they lost to another really good team. And if the Rangers win, I know we're going to, say, oh, well, they used Friday as motivation, and it's possible, but they also could win tonight because they're also a really good team. So, I think the baseball will tell the story at the end of the night.
Jared, I was listening to you guys Friday night after I was leaving the Mavericks game, and you made a very important point. People were talking about how, the Astros dominated at Globe Life Field, and you brought it up very succinctly. The Astros win on the road because they hit first. Could you elaborate again right now about how the table is turned in Houston? I'm not saying that the Astros are definitely going to lose in Houston, but they are not hitting first tonight.
Yeah, and just, I don't think that's the only reason the
Right.
Astros have had, but I do think it helps that, they have the first crack at getting on the board first. And, obviously it's something they used to their advantage, not just against the Rangers, but throughout the season. And, the Rangers have that same opportunity here. They didn't do it in the first inning in Game 1, but they scored first when they got across in the second inning in Game 1. And then in the first inning in Game 2 against Framber Valdez, they put up 4 runs before the Astros could even, see a pitch. And I just think that, typically home teams win more than they lose, right? There is home field advantage is a thing for a reason. But when you score first, you tend to win more than you lose. And when you have the first chance of scoring first, then you take advantage of it. The Rangers hopefully can get Semien and Seager going when they face Framber in Game 2. Semien and Seager each had a single before Framber threw his third pitch of the game. And so you get going early against Framber. And also when you come off of a tough loss, that also maybe makes a difference. When you get going right away, it kind of helps turn the page. And so, that top of the first could be a significant, first 3 outs for the Rangers.
Do we have any updates when it comes to Brian Abreu and the status of his suspension for the rest of this American League Championship Series?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything, and maybe it's on Twitter. I haven't seen anything official. I know Dusty Baker gave the political, he'll meet at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fait accompli. Brian Abreu is going to appeal the suspension, and that appeal will not be heard in advance of tonight's game, and unlikely it will be heard in advance of tomorrow's game if it gets to Game 7. So I imagine he's appealing, and if he were to miss time, I imagine he'd miss a game, maybe 2 games in the World Series. Of course, if the Rangers win tonight and tomorrow, then perhaps Brian Abreu will only miss regular season games. But he had until, I think, at 6:50 or something tonight to issue the appeal or whenever it was, and I believe he is going to issue an appeal.
Assuming that he does go ahead and file that appeal, how does that change tonight in terms of the outlook potentially?
Well, it makes him available, and so, he's arguably, I know he's not their closer, but statistically speaking, you could say he's their best reliever. So, making him available in a close game certainly could make a difference in favor of the Astros.
Okay, Jared, I'm not going to call you a Corey Seager whisperer, but you do talk to him more than most, and he is so quiet. Can you talk about what you think he may be thinking about how he's been playing this particular series? And I only bring this up because this dude's a World Series MVP. He's arguably was in the MVP for the American League if he hadn't been hurt so many times this year. Can you just talk about his mindset? Because, again, you've talked to him more than most.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't specifically talked to him, about, how he's performing, although I'll tell you, I know that, he's bummed the way things played out on Friday and felt Corey doesn't show a ton of emotion. I think sometimes that comes off as indifference. I can promise you that when Corey stepped into the box in the bottom of the 9th inning, he felt, I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but I think he really wanted to get a big hit and feels an allegiance and an obligation to step up and be that type of a guy for this team. And, he might hit a home run in a big game and not break a smile or show any emotion, but I can promise you this guy is as competitive as any guy in that clubhouse. So, the fact the game played out the way it did obviously was a big disappointment. And, I know he's hoping that he can be a part of anyone. He wants to win first and foremost. All those guys do, but I do think he knows that he is that guy for this team, right? He knows that he is. Yes, he's one of 9, but his one is maybe a little bit more than the other ones in that lineup. And I think he wants to help be a part of the solution tonight to try and push this to a Game 7.
Let's take our final break here on our Rangers pregame Super Show. We've got Jared Sandler hanging out with us ahead of Game 6 of the ALCS tonight. When we come back, we get Jared's final thoughts as we get you ready for Game 6 of the ALCS between the Rangers and the Astros. We're doing next on 105.3 The Fan.
Thanks to our Tolos. Those are our listeners who turned it on.
On all of his hard work today, as we are joined by Jared Sandler live from Houston, getting you ready for tonight's Game 6 at Minute Maid Park. I want to thank Matt Hicks, Mike Bascik, Derek Holland, and Baseball Hall of Famer and the Hall of Fame voice of the Texas Rangers, Eric Nadel, all for joining us via the Boomer Jacks Bar and Grill hotlines to get us ready for tonight's Game 6 between the Rangers and the Astros. Jared Sandler's pick to click tonight is who, sir?
Let's go with Marcus Semien, guy who's going to lead things off. He's had a good track record against Framber Valdez, and the Rangers really need that guy to get going.
As you look at this Rangers lineup as well, Robbie Grossman back in left field tonight for Evan Carter. An X factor that you may have other than Marcus Semien or Corey Seager that you're looking forward to have a big night tonight?
In the lineup? Well, I mean, it'd be nice. Robbie's in there to face the lefty, and if Marcus and Corey can get on, it would certainly be nice for Robbie to be able to do his thing. But, how about Jonah Heim? They're in the bottom half of the order. I know he had that hit in the ninth inning, but, he has not had an outstanding postseason offensively, but he has had success against Houston, and, maybe he can get something going here in this ballpark and, help take some of the pressure off of the bottom half of the order. So if you want someone from the lineup, why not Jonah?
I also like the X factor of Josh Young. I just think that people are just kind of sleeping on the fact he's had a nice postseason.
He has, yeah. And, I mean, it could be any one of these guys, right? Especially you expect it to be a close game. One really good performance from someone could totally make the difference. So, if it's Josh, that's awesome. But they need someone to stand, to step up and, and really kind of force the Astros to kind of play from behind and feel the pressure. You give Nathan Eovaldi a lead early, I feel good about things.
What makes Nathan Eovaldi so special in these types of moments in the postseason?
Well, I think there are, a number of factors. One, I mean, there's got to be the mental component. You can't succeed in these moments, these stages, if mentally, you're not built to withstand the ups and downs, the pressures. Just think of when he pitched in Game 2. He had that bases loaded, nobody out situation. He didn't crumble. He got even better. He took things up a notch, executed his pitches. I think, for him specifically, he's got a great pitch in the splitter that is so tough to hit. He pitches with velocity, which it is not the end-all, be-all, but it certainly helps. And he's got a number of pitches he can use. In any given game, the curveball can be a big pitch. The cutter can be a big pitch. Obviously, there's the splitter. He can locate the fastball on both sides of the plate. He might not have everything working, but for some guys, when they don't have one thing working, it really limits them. With Nathan Eovaldi, I think he's got the wherewithal and the depth in his arsenal that if he doesn't have something working, he can change things up and still find ways to have success.
How many innings do we need out of him?
How many innings do they get or do they need?
Need.
I think, listen, for me, I think you need at least 6 just because then you can get to your 3 big bullpen arms. The reality is the big challenge for this Rangers ball club is that they don't have the same bullpen depth the Astros have. And so if they can avoid exposing that would be best. You get 6 innings out of Nathan Eovaldi, that'd be awesome. If you can get a 7th, then maybe if you win the game, you're not having to use all 3, and one of those guys is pitching within, a second day of rest for tomorrow. But, whatever the case is, I think you'd really love to – you'd feel really good. If you told me right now Nathan Eovaldi's giving the Rangers 6 innings, I feel really good about how this game might end up.
Yes, sir. I'm with you on that.
It is official. Brian Abreu has appealed his 2-game suspension. Buster only tweeting that out as of about 10 minutes ago. So that does mean it appears that Brian Abreu will be available tonight. The Astros reliever and setup man will be available for the Astros tonight. So as we turn our attention fully to tonight's game, Jared, what's going to be the deciding factor in your mind? We've talked about the starting pitching. We've talked about Corey Seager and Marcus Semien needing to, start to set the table at the top of that lineup. For you, what's going to be possibly the defining moment for you and how the Rangers win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and I could tell you the bullpen, and that would make sense. I could tell you Nathan Eovaldi. Obviously, he's got a lot of the, the responsibility and the opportunity as a starter. What I'll go to is this. I think the Rangers need to win the first 3 innings. It doesn't mean if they don't, they're not going to win, but that just has been such a winning formula for them this postseason. When they win the first 3 innings, they win the game. It's that simple. And I just think with Framber Valdez, if the Rangers are winning the first 3 innings, that means they're getting to Framber Valdez. If they're not, I guess it could be 7-6 or something in the first 3 innings. There are a lot of possibilities. But if Framber Valdez, just as we said, if Nathan Eovaldi gives the Rangers 6 innings, things probably in good shape. If Framber Valdez is giving the Astros 6 innings, that might mean really good things for the Astros. Now, if they both give 6 innings, then something's got to give in that equation. Framber Valdez, to me, has really been a different pitcher over the last couple of months. He's struggled here at this ballpark, but he's struggled in general. And I just think on paper, when you factor that in, the Rangers have the decided advantage on the mound. And it might not play out that way, because if it always played out that way, then a lot of things would be different over the course of the season. But I just think the Rangers have an opportunity. Framber Valdez is an emotional guy.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that he lost last game. Now, he might be justifying it. Hey, I didn't pitch poorly. It was a lot of weak contact. And he's not wrong. He did have a lot of weak contact hit off of him. But he still is the guy at the end of the night who went to bed hooked with the loss. And if the Rangers can put some pressure on him early, I think they've got an opportunity to break him and get out to a multi-run lead. So, to me, the early innings are really important. And with the Astros bullpen, it's just really tough to play from behind against that team.
In other words, we need to see Evan Carter before the 6th inning.
If you're seeing, that's a good way to put it, CA, because for people who maybe don't understand that comment, Evan Carter will come in the minute the Astros go to the bullpen, because they only have righties in their bullpen. So if you're seeing Evan Carter before the 6th inning, that probably bodes well.
Yes, sir.
Jared Sandler, I appreciate your time as always, sir. I know you've got to prepare for the rest of tonight's game. Looking forward to your call along with Matt Hicks and the Hall of Famer Eric Nadel as the Rangers look to stave off elimination and force a decisive Game 7 tomorrow night in Houston. Nathan Eovaldi tasked with that job tonight to help the Rangers look to win tonight against Houston. Jared, thank you so much for the time, my man. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jared.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
There he goes, Jared Sandler, Rangers insider and play-by-play man, good enough to join us here on our Rangers pregame super show ahead of Game 6 of the American League Championship Series tonight. Final thoughts real quick before we get out of here. It's all on the line tonight.
That's right.
For the Texas Rangers. It's literally win or go home.
I feel like they will win. I feel like we're going to see Max Scherzer tomorrow, and I think the Dallas-Fort Worth area is going to be very happy when the night's over with.
I predicted the Rangers to win in 7.
Here you go. It's laid out for you.
It's right here.
You couldn't ask for a better situation per se for your scenario. Evo on the mound.
All I got to say, gentlemen, one word for me tonight: stressed. I'm gonna be at home, living and dying on every single damn pitch tonight between Eovaldi and Valdez. Every single at bat, every single moment. Damn it, stressed. I'm glad the Cowboys didn't play today, because I would have been hella stressed if the Cowboys had been playing.
One stress at a time.
Yeah, one stress at a time. But looking forward to tonight as the Rangers look to stave off elimination in Game 6 of the ALCS. Appreciate the hard work of my man Jeff Carroll on this afternoon. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate the 3-time Hall of Famer for hanging out with me on this Sunday night. I know you're about to go home just like I am and watch Game 6 of the American League Championship Series.
No doubt. No doubt. I predicted my final score will be going to be 8-5. Rangers.
There you go. For Jeff Carroll, the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold, my name is Kevin Gray. This has been the Rangers ALCS pregame super show. Coming up next, the official Rangers pregame show here on 105 through the Fan. Y'all be good.
I'm a big believer in investing into what the wealthiest people in the world invest into. But it's not easy to know exactly what that is, and it hasn't always been possible for regular folks like you and I. But that's changing. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you've done a good job acquiring some assets, now is the time to consider private equity. Private equity is ownership of private companies that aren't traded on the stock market and in most cases are very exclusive. Examples could include ownership of apartments or nursing homes, dental practices, solar farms, you name it. Why do so many billionaires invest into private equity? Because of historically low correlation to the stock market and historically higher returns. If you have a goal with your portfolio but aren't there yet, call Trajan Wealth today. Call 469-579-3500. 469-579-3500.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered